Well, in the history of English language, more people are trying to learn English than any other language in the world. English is the language of political negotiations and international business. It has become the international language of science and medicine. International treaties say the passenger airplane pilots must speak English. English is the major foreign language taught in most schools in South Africa and Europe. School children in the Philippines and Japan begin learning English at an early age. English is the official language of more than 75 countries, including Britain, Canada, the United States, Australia, and South Africa. In countries where many different languages are spoken, English is often used as an official language to help people communicate. India is a good example. English is the common language in this country, where at least 24 languages are spoken by more than 1 million people. Where did the English language come from? Why has it become so popular? To answer the question, we must travel back in time about 5,000 years to an area north of the Black Seas in southeastern Europe. Experts say the people in that area spoke a language called Proto-Indo-European. That language is not longer spoken. Researchers do not really know what it sounded like. Yet, Proto-Indo-European is believed to be the ancestor of most European languages. These include the languages that became Ancient Greek, Ancient German, and Ancient Latin. Latin disappears as a spoken language, yet is left behind three great languages that become modern: Spanish, French, and Italian. Ancient German became Dutch, Danish, German, Norwegian, Swedish, and one of the languages that developed into English. The English language is a result of the invasions of the island of Britain over many thousands of years. The invaders lived along the northern coast of Europe. The first invasion was by a people called Angles about 1,500 years ago. The Angles was a German tribe who crossed the English Channel. Later, two more groups got to Britain. They were the Saxons and the Jutes. These groups found a people called the Celts, who had lived in Britain for many thousands of years. The Celts and the invaders fought. After a while, most of the Celts were killed or made slaves. Some escaped to live in the area that became Wales. Through the years, the Saxon, Angles, and Jute mixed their different languages. The result is what is called Anglo-Saxon or Old English. Old English is extremely difficult to understand. Only a few experts can read it easily. Earliest form of English. Several written words have survived from the Old English period, perhaps the most famous called poem. It is the oldest known English poem. Experts say it was written in Britain more than 1,000 years ago. The name of the person who wrote it is not known. Beowulf is the story of a great king who fought against monsters. He was a good king, well liked by his people. Um, a new book by Seamus Heaney tells this ancient story in modern English. The next great invasions of Britain come from the far north beginning about 1,100 years ago. Fierce people called Viking raided the coast areas of Britain. The Vikings came from Denmark, Norway, and other northern countries. They were looking to capture trade goods enslave and take away anything of value. In some area, the Viking became so powerful they built temporary base. The temporary base sometimes became permanent. Later, many Vikings stayed in Britain. Many English words lived used today come from these ancient Vikings. Words like sky, leg, skull, axe, growl, lift, and take are from the old languages of the far northern countries. The next invasions of Britain took place more than 900 years ago. In 1066, history experts call this invasion the Norman Conquest. William E. the Conqueror led it. The Norman word of French-speaking people from Normandy in the north of France. They became the new rulers of Britain. These new rulers spoke only French for several hundred years. It had the most important language in the world at that time. It was the language of educated people, but the common people of Britain still spoke Old English. Old English took many words from the Norman French. Some of these include damage, reason, marriage. Most English words that describe law or government come from Norman French, words such as jury, parliament, and justice. The French language used in by the Norman rulers greatly changed the way English was spoken by 800 years ago. English became what language experts call Middle English. As time passed, the ruling Normans no longer spoke Jews with French. Their language had become a mixed French and Middle English. Middle English sounds like modern English, but it is very difficult to understand now. Many writers work from this by Geoffrey Chaucer, a poet who lived in London and died there in 1400. Chaucer's most famous work is the Canterbury Tales, written more than 600 years ago. The history of English language too. Last week, we told how the English language developed as a result of several invasions of Britain. The first involved three tribes called the Angles, the Druids, and the Saxons. A mix of their languages produced a language called Anglo-Saxons or Old English. It sounded like very much like German, only the few words remained from the Celts who had lived in Britain. Two more invasions added word to Old English. The Viking of Denmark, Norway, and Sweden arrived in Britain more than 1,000 years ago. The next invasion took place in the years 166. French forces from Normandy were led by a man known as William Conqueror. The Normandy ruler added many words to English. The word parliament, jury, justice, and other that deal with law come from the Norman rulers. Over time, the different languages combined to result in what English experts call Middle English. While Middle English still sounds similar to German, it also began to sound like Modern English. Here, Warren Steers read the very beginning of Chaucer's great poem, The Canterbury Tales, as it were written in Middle English. Chaucer wrote that poem at the later 1300, it was written in the language of the people. The rulers of Britain at the time still spoke the Norman French they brought with them in 1066. The kings of Britain did not speak the English of the people until the early 1040 400. Solely Norman French were used less and less until it disappeared. The English language was strongly influenced by an event that took place in 1400 years ago. In the years 567, the Roman Catholic Church began its attempt to make Christianity and really the religion of Britain. The language of the Catholic Church was Latin. Latin was not spoken as a language in many countries at the time, but it was still used by some people. Latin made it possible for a judge member from Rome to speak to a judge member from Britain. Educated people from different countries could communicate using Latin. Latin has a great effect on the English language. Here's a few the Latin words discussed became several words in English, including disk, this, desk. The Latin word Swedish became the English word quiet. Some English names of plants such as gingers and trees such as cedar come from Latin. So do some medical words such as cancer. English is a little like a living thing that continues to grow. English began to grow more quickly when William Caxton returned to Britain in the year 1476. He had been in Holland and other areas of Europe where he had learned printing. He returned to Britain in the first with the first printing press. The printing press made it possible for almost anyone to buy a book. It helped spread education and the English language. Slowly during the 1500s, English became the modern language we would recognize. English speakers today would be able to communicate with English speakers in the last part in the 16th century. It has during this time period that the greatest writer in English produced his work. His name was William Shakespeare. His plays continued to be printed, acted in theater, and seen in motion pictures almost 400 years after his death. Experts say that Shakespeare's work was written to be performed on the stage, not to be read. Yet the sound of his work can produce words, pictures, and provide feeling of anger, fear, and laughter. Shakespeare's famous play Romeo and Juliet is so sad that people cry when they see this famous story. The story of the power-hungry King Richard the Third is another very popular play by Shakespeare. The development of the English language took a strange step. Just 9 years before the death of William Shakespeare, three small British ships crossed the Atlantic Ocean in 1607. They landed in an area that would later called the Southern America state of Virginia. They began the first of several British colonies. The name of the first small colony was Jamestown. In time, people in these new colonies began to call area of their new land by word, borrowed from the native people they found living there. For example, many of the great rivers in the United States are taken from American Indian words. The Mississippi, the Tennessee, the Missouri are examples. Other Native American words included moccasin, the kind of shoes made of animal skin that Indians were on their feet. This borrowing and adding of foreign words to English were a way to expanding the language. The name of 3 days of the week are a good example for this. The people from Northern Europe honored three gods with a special day each week. The gods were Odin, Thor, and Freya. Odin's day became Wednesday in English. Thor's days became Thursday, and Freya's day became Friday. Britain has other colonies in Africa, Asia, and Caribbean and India. The English language also became a part of these colonies. These colonies are now independent, but English still is one of the languages spoken, and the English language grew as words from the native languages were added. For example, the word shampoo for soap for the hair came from India. Banana is believed to be from Africa. Experts cannot explain many English words. For hundreds of years, a dog was called a hound. The word is still used, but not as commonly as the word dog. Experts do not know where is the word dog come from or when. English speakers just started using it. Other words whose organs are and nose include fan, back, bat, and bit. English speakers also continue to invent new words by linking a word together, and a good example is the word model and hotel. Many years ago, someone linked them together into the word motel. A motel is a small hotel near the road where people traveling in car can stay for the night. All the words can come from the first letters of name of group or devices. A device to find objects that cannot be seen called radio detecting and ranging became radar. The North Atlantic Treaties Organization is usually called NATO. Experts say that English has more words that explain the same thing that any other language. For example, the word large, huge, vast, massive, and enormous all mean something really big. People often ask how many words are there in the English language. Well, no one really knows. The Oxford English Dictionary lists about 615,000 words. Yet, the many scientific words not in the dictionary could increase the number to almost 1 million. And experts are never really sure how to count English words. For example, the word mouse. A mouse is a small creature from the rodent family. But mouse has another very different meaning. A mouse is also a handheld device used to help control the computer. If you are counting, where do you count mouse two times? Visitor to the Voice Africa hear people speaking more than 50 different languages. Most broadcasters at VOA come from countries where these languages are spoken. International organizations such as VOA would find it possible to operate without a second language all the people speak. The language that permits VOA to work is English. It is not unusual to see someone in Chinese service talking to someone from the Arabic service, both speaking English. English it comes from the common language of millions of people worldwide, helping speakers of many different languages communicate.